What's up everybody, it's Carl, aka Carl Drum Tech, and today let's talk about who is going to be more successful. Person A, someone who has all the resources, all the money, all the education in the world, or person B, has less resources than person A. Cue the music. Boom. Alright, if you guys are finding me for the first time, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's the red button down below that says subscribe. That way you are notified anytime I put out a new video in regards to the marching arts, marching bands, drum lines, indoor percussion, drum corps, all that good stuff. Make sure you subscribe so you are notified anytime I drop a new video. Also, make sure that notification bell is ringing. That way you are the first to be notified anytime I drop a video on those subject matters. So hit that subscribe button, make sure the notification bell is ringing, and let's get to the video. Okay, so I had this conversation with one of my students, and just kind of started tripping out about it's great that I'm having lessons from you, but there's other kids in my school who their dad is the lead director at some university or whatever, or this person gets all this money to take private lessons, he gets access to all these private tutors and all that stuff. This person and their dad, they talk music theory all the time. I don't have those resources. My parents are music people. I only have lessons from you, and I just don't have as many resources. So I'm really tripping out. I don't know if I can be as successful as these people, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, now, first of all, I'm not, getting down on the student at all, because everybody has those moments, okay? Everybody has those moments where, I don't have as many resources as this other person. This person is going to be way more successful than I am because they have all the money, they have all the education, they have all the access to all kinds of things that I do not have access to. And let's look at it as a drumline situation where maybe you're a school that is just getting by, you don't have that much money, you don't have that much funding, you can just barely get a show on the floor. I mean, maybe you don't even have money for uniforms, or maybe the uniforms are very rudimentary, one color uniforms. Maybe your floor, is just a basic tarp, no design. Maybe you don't have that money for heads. Your heads are falling apart. You're literally putting tape on your heads and all that stuff, right? And you're just oh my gosh, how can we be successful, right? Compared to all these programs that have all this money and blah, blah, blah. They have all these resources. They have all these staff people. We cannot compare to those people, right? And in many ways, yes, you can't compare, right? They just have so much. Some groups just have more resources than other groups, whereas some groups are just barely scraping by. They barely have any money. They can barely get a program on the floor, okay? Now, is it likely that these groups that have all these resources are going to be more successful than the groups that have less resources? There's a good chance that yes, right? Because, I mean, if you're talking about just from a training standpoint, right? These groups are going to have more instructional staff. They have staff that have eyes all over the floor, looking at every little thing, improving. They can go into sessionals and all that stuff and just nitpick every single little thing. Very focused, very laser focused on each individual or each section. Whereas the group that only has maybe one instructor can barely pay them. The instructor only comes once a week when you have 2 rehearsals a week or whatever, right? It's there's not enough eyes for all these individuals on the court and stuff like that, right? So it's how could you compare? Well, you can't, right? What about the schools that have all this budget to have awesome costumes, awesome props, all these gadgets and things like that, all these different instruments they can add on the floor, and another group that has no resources. The floor is plain, not much on it, very plain uniforms, not a lot of gizmos and gadgets, on the floor and stuff like that. How can you compare? You can't. The judges are going to be wow, look at this shiny object with all this stuff on the floor, and then compare it to the group that doesn't have as much stuff, right? I mean, that's going to be hard to compare, right? It's just not even the same thing. So how do you compete? How do you compare yourself? How do you say, well, if you're a group that doesn't have as much resources, how can you compete against those groups? First of all, don't even think of it like that, okay? Think of it as you have to do the best you can with the resources that you have. It's not about what you have or what you don't have. It's about what you have and what you do with it, okay? Now, look at it from an example of history, okay, of the world, okay? Are there people, okay, who have not a lot of access to a lot of stuff? Grew up in poverty, was in really sad circumstances. Maybe they were abused as a child or whatever, right? Maybe they were just they had something tragic happen to them. Okay, maybe they got into drugs and all that stuff, right? Who knows, right? Really bad circumstances, really bad beginnings in their youth. Okay, is that person more likely to be unsuccessful in life? You could say that, okay? But are there people, okay, who have been down in the dumps and have picked themselves up to be super successful? Take a look at Robert Downey Jr., right? This guy was a drug addict. He went to jail. You can say, oh my gosh, this person's life is going downhill. They're not going anywhere. You could say that on the surface, straight up, like Robert Downey Jr. is probably going to be a failure in life if you saw him at his lowest points, when he was a drug addict, when he was going to jail, when he's going to rehab, and you're just thinking, okay, this cycle is going to keep going. He's not going to do anything. And guess what? He turned into Iron Man.
I am Iron Man.
Okay, now he's one of the biggest stars in the world. Okay, but if you would have saw him during those low points, would you have thought that he was going to become Iron Man? Did you think that he was going to be super successful, super rich, super popular, just an overall good person? Like, did you see that coming, right? Would you see that coming if you saw that? Probably not, okay? Now take the reverse. Are there examples of people in the world who have all the resources in the world, they have all the money, all the education, like they just have everything going for them? Like, are there examples of people in the world like that who are not successful? Of course, right? I mean, these people maybe like they have all this stuff thrown at them and they're like, take it for granted, like whatever. And then they don't do as much with it because everything's just kind of been given to them. Everything's been fed to them. But people who like don't have as much stuff, who have to scrap and hustle and work their butts off and just have all these circumstances that they have to defeat, in many ways, these people are in better position to become more powerful because they have to fight. They have to scrap. They have to beat all these odds in order to succeed. It makes them hungry, okay? Did you see what I said? Hungry, okay? They're hungry for success. They're hungry for like digging themselves out of certain situations, right? They're hungry to not let their circumstances define them. Does that make sense, okay? So if you look at yourself and you're like, well, I don't have as many resources, I definitely can't be successful. That can get in your head, and now you're thinking, I don't want to try as hard because I don't have as many resources. I don't have things given to me. I'm going to suck for the rest of my life. You cannot think like that. You cannot give into that lie. It's a lie, okay? Like, think of it this way, right? You could be some dude in Africa who doesn't have as much resources. Maybe you have enough money or have enough resources to find a hi-hat and a snare and a beat old clunky bass drum, put a kick on it, and then start rocking out. Maybe some like warp cymbal, right? Something like that, and just play the fattest beat in the world. Can you do that? Of course you can. In that situation, it doesn't matter if this person has $1 million set, okay? This person, as long as they're badass and they can play, like they can make that trashy drum set that they're playing on sound amazing. There are examples of people like that who do so much with so little. So you can't think, I don't have a lot, I can't do anything with it, I cannot be successful as other people who have more resources. You cannot think like that. If you think like that, it's game over, okay? Now, you also have to think that there are people who are given everything, and they're not hungry because they're already, it's been fed to them. It's like, here it is, spoon feed, here you go, right? They're not hungry because they're like, well, it just comes to me. Versus somebody who has like not a lot of money, they have to go and hunt for food, okay? They can't even buy food. They have to, okay, just hypothetical, right? They have to literally hunt for food. They have to find it. They have to like kill it. They have to cook it. Like they have everything themselves. Like, will that person have more skill, okay, than the person who has food fed to them? Guess what? The person who has less resources in that instant will learn so much more, will gain so many more skills, and could potentially be more powerful, okay, down the road than the person who is given everything, okay? So what I'm trying to say is, don't give in to the lie of you can't be successful because you don't have as much resources. Be thankful for whatever resources you have. If you're in a drum line that, you know, barely has heads, as long as you have heads, you can do something. If you have a floor and you have costumes and it fits with the indoor percussion genre, like you have all the basic stuff, you can do something with it. Don't compare yourself to other groups. Compare yourself to, are you better than you were yesterday? Are you getting better every single day? Are you getting skills that that you did not have yesterday? That is the measure that you need to, that is the measuring stick you need to live up to, is, was I better than I was yesterday? Was my group better than what it was yesterday? And if you can do that every single day, then every day is a success. Every day is a win, okay? You see the passion I'm bringing at you today, because I don't want you to think like, oh, poor me, I don't have as many resources. Now look at it this way, right? Like there are people, right, who maybe, like for this student, like they have the resources to at least be able to have me as an instructor to be able to teach them. Not just saying like, you know, like I'm a great instructor and I can give them so much, because I can. But like what if they have that's the only resources, right? That's the only resource they have, right? So are there examples of individuals who, you know, don't have access to private lessons, do not have the money to get a private teacher? Of course there are, right? There's plenty of people like that. And does that mean they're not going to be successful? Of course not, right? They can still be successful. They can still be resourceful. I love the saying that if you lack the resources, you have to be resourceful. Okay, so if you don't have the money for private lessons, go find information on the internet. Go ask more experienced friends. Go, like, you know, meet people who like have more experience, have more, you know, have more skill than you, and get tips from them. Get them to help you. Get them to give you pointers. There's so many different ways to go around the circumstances that you have to still be successful. Okay, so I want you to be successful today, and I want you to have that mindset of I have enough as I have right now, or if I don't have enough, I'm gonna fight through it and I'm still gonna be successful. Fuck you, like, you know, lack of resources. I'm still gonna beat it. I'm still gonna be successful. I'm gonna make it happen, and I'm gonna be resourceful. Okay, so be thankful. Okay, whatever you have, all right, like in many ways you might have more than somebody else. Okay, somebody else might have more than you, okay, but you might have more than somebody else. Be thankful for what you have, make do with what you have, and be successful. Okay, so that's all I have for today. Thank you guys so much for listening to my crazy, passionate, it's not a rant, but just you know, just giving you pointers as far as like how to have that mental capacity to think, you know what I have doesn't matter, or what I don't have doesn't matter. It's all about what I have and what I do with it, okay? And even if you're not successful now, it's a long life. There's so much like you can accomplish in the how many years that you can be on this earth. You can possibly be here for 90 to 100 years, okay? And you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm 15 years old and I haven't accomplished anything. Don't worry. You still have like 85% of your life to go, okay? So you just have to be successful one time. Just be successful one time in your life and you're good to go, all right? Don't think like you have to be successful now, okay? So keep working hard, okay? Trust the process, you will be successful, okay? Thank you guys so much for listening to this video. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. Do me a huge favor, okay? If you have any questions or comments, would like to add to the conversation, leave it in the comments below. If you guys have not subscribed yet, after I told you to subscribe, like I said, hit that red button, subscribe, and you'll be notified anytime I put out a new video just like this. Hopefully this has been helpful to you. So maybe you could share this video with somebody else who might also find this helpful. So share this video with them, share on your social media. I'd really appreciate that, okay? So cool. Thank you again for watching. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you guys learned a lot. You guys should totally watch more of my videos by clicking over here and then subscribe over here. Peace.